Hello, everybody, and welcome to this last in our Yishuv series, exploring the period under the British Mandate leading up to the creation of the State of Israel. This evening is chronologically the last in our series, but as well as marking an ending, it marks the beginning of the state. I'm so delighted that joining us we have Rabbi Nava Chafetz, who is going to talk about the creation of the Declaration of Independence, and she's going to explore the Jewish values that went into the formation of the State of Israel in 1948, and ask, I hope, and if she doesn't, I will be asking her, and I will all have questions for her, what is happening in today's Israel, and how is it or isn't it living up to those declared values of its founders. So just to tell you a bit about Rabbi Nava, she's currently the Educational Director of Rabbis for Human Rights, which, as I'm sure you'll understand, means she's been frantically busy in the last few weeks and particularly the last few days. So it's really something that she's joining us today. As well as being out there herself on the barricades, she runs dozens of programs dealing with human rights in Israel, the occupied territories, and overseas. She developed an interdisciplinary program which aims to teach human rights from Jewish and international perspectives, and she supervises 12 rabbis working across Israel on issues such as the violation of Palestinian rights in the occupied territories, social justice, the position of the Jewish tradition towards others in Israeli society. She has a phenomenal CV. She was senior program director for many years, an executive director actually of the Charles Bronfman Center. She's worked for Melitz. She's been a rabbi in South Africa and in China, both of which are very interesting countries in terms of human rights issues. So we look forward to hearing her talk about the topic, but also about any other questions that you may have about Judaism and human rights and Israel and human rights that we will open up later on. Rabbi Nava is going to talk first of all, but we will definitely have an opportunity for you to ask questions. So if you would be interested in asking something, please send a note to myself or to Emma in the chat, and we will bring you on screen later on. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Nava. Welcome, Brucha Haba'ah, and we look forward to hearing you talk.
Thank you. You will have to stop me because I can speak for hours about the Declaration of Independence and the history of this country. And right, a few weeks ago, the Israeli TV just screened a series called The Mandate, Hamandat, the British Mandate, explaining the origin of the conflict and the role of Great Britain in the issue of of the Middle East. Okay, very interesting, very enlightened. Even me that I'm dealing with it more than 20 years, I learned a lot of new things. So it's so relevant to teach in these days about the Declaration of Independence, the rise of a nation, the values, what was the vision of the founders of Israel. And I'm not a messianic person. I'm very rationalistic, and I know that we did a lot of bad things, but every nation that is born or while is struggling for its independence, every people that is struggling are doing wrong things. I mean, war is bad. And finally, those who are paying the price are people. Human beings are paying the price, not politicians and not generals, but human beings. What is very interesting, and I understood that you were learning about the Yishuv, which means pre-Renaissance or independence of the Jewish people. It's very interesting because people are claiming that the Declaration of Independence was written, like this, 3 weeks before the declaration. It's true that part of it was written 3 weeks before May 15, but I already found texts that were written in 1946, which means a year after the end of the Second World War, the time where Europe was devastated with and invaded by millions of refugees, and mainly Jewish refugees and displaced people, and this reality gave birth to the creation of the State of Israel. It doesn't mean that that the status of Israel would not have been created without the Holocaust, but it activated the creation of. And we know that on the 29th of November, we had the partition proposal of the international community and the UN, and it's a proposal that the Ben Gurion Jewish leaders accepted, and unfortunately the Palestinian, we are not talking about Palestinian at this time, but they refused it, they rejected this proposal. And meanwhile, between 46 to 48, different people wrote the Declaration of Independence. And what is very interesting is that, first of all, it's an amazing text. On one hand, it's poetic. On the other hand, it's messianic, it's historic. It's according to the Declaration of the Human Rights of the UN. So it's a text, but when you take the text and you divide it into 2 pages and you divide the paragraphs, you will see that the declaration is talking in 2 languages. One language is inside, it's for the Yishuv, for the Jewish people, inside, not only inside Eretz Israel, because we're not talking about the state of Israel, but we're talking about Eretz Israel at this time, or the Yishuv, but not only towards the Yishuv, but towards the Jewish communities around the world, okay? Because Ben Gurion was really was an amazing leader, understood that we will need the diaspora, we will need the congregations. So the language, the vocabulary that is used was meant to touch also the Yishuv, but also the Jews around the world. So this is one part of the declaration. And the second part, the second language, is outside. It's for the international community. And if we didn't have the paragraph of principles which say the state of Israel will be based on freedom, justice, and peace, it will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants. Because we know at this time, we know already, or Ben Gurion knew already, that there will be not only a Jewish population in Israel, but also Arab population in Israel. Okay, so it was very important for Ben Gurion to talk to the international community. And he took into consideration the international community because without the international community, Ben-Gurion was not able on May 15 to declare the independence of the Jewish people. He needed the international community. So 3 weeks before the declaration, some Israeli leaders like Moshe Sharet, who became later prime minister, and Abba Evan, who was minister of foreign affairs, they went across the world in trying to get the approval of leaders in South America, in the United States, in Europe, because without this vote, Ben-Gurion was not able to create a state or to declare the independence, the sovereignty. So what is very interesting, we have these two faces of the Megillah. We are calling it the Megillah, like a Megillat Esther. We are calling it the fifth Megillah, the sixth Megillah, because we have 5 already. So the sixth Megillah, but actually it's the declaration. And what is very interesting is to see the writers of who are the writers of this text. Okay, where everyone is starting, what is the starting point of each person that is writing this Megillah, okay? And the fact that if we understand the starting point of their writing, you can understand what was their worldview, okay? Whether they were religious, secular, left, right, okay? So Emma, if you can just bring us the first page. And the first page, we already see the 2 versions of the first paragraph. The land of Israel was the birthplace of the Jewish people. This is version 1. And version 2, in the land of Israel, the Jewish people came into being. Now, this is the biggest lie, because when we are talking as Jewish people, the birthplace or the Jewish people came into being was in the desert. Once we got the Constitution, our Constitution, the 10 Commandments, the first Bill of Rights, or the first laws, okay? How a just society must be ruled, okay? Lo tirtzach, you shall not murder. Lo tignov, you shall not steal, okay? All kind of laws that are the pillar of a society. So it's very interesting that Ben-Gurion, for him, it was very important we are creating a new people, okay? After 2,000 years of diaspora, finally, the Jewish people is coming back on the historic arena, on the international arena as an independent people. Now we know in England where let's say the British people were. What was the birthplace of the British people, or the Scottish, or the French? Okay, for Ben-Gurion, it was very important to claim inside and outside that the Jewish people are not a colonialist people, that we are coming back to our ancestors' homeland, because otherwise, why should we come back? Okay, unless we have a history, unless we have a memory, unless we have laws and traditions that are connected to this land. So for Ben-Gurion, it was very important to claim, this is where the Jewish people was born. We claim the Jewish people was born in the desert. And there is a very interesting midrash explanation that is saying why the Torah was given in a no man's land, in the desert. The desert was the no man's land, in order to allow each person who want to join the Jewish people to come and take it. So the Jewish people was born in the desert, in the no man's land. There is another very interesting commentary of the founder of the Orthodox movement, Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, before Herzl, claiming, and he gave a commentary on Exodus 22, and he is writing, when you will have your state, when the Jewish people will have their state, be careful not to do what the Egyptian did to you. Don't violate the rights of others. So this is very interesting, all these commentaries and the birthplace and the fact that we're going to become again an independent nation, okay? And we are going to become an independent nation al t'nai, on condition. And the condition is that we will ensure equality, that we will that the state will be based on freedom, justice, and peace as envisioned by the prophets of Israel, because this is, again, we are talking about a Jewish state and a democratic state, okay? By the way, in the declaration, the word democracy was taken out. In one of the versions, the word democracy was inside, was incorporated in the text. And then it was taken out. And I think, according to what I read, I think that because of this paragraph of principle will be based on freedom, justice, and peace, they understood that this is enough to be a democracy. To ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, this is democracy. Irrespective of religion, race, or sex, it will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language, education, and culture. I mean, this is democracy. And I want to make to take a step from 48 to our time, to what is going on in Israel right now. They are trying to abolish the Declaration of Independence, because this was the vision in 48. In 48, the vision was, we are coming back to our land, but we have to behave towards the others that are not Jewish according to the international values. And I say, these are not international values only. These are Jewish values. Because if we learn about all this, what is freedom, okay? How many times in our prayers, morning, Shacharit, Mincha, and Arvit, we talk about Egypt, about slavery, about the fact that we were not free. This is a Jewish value. Justice. tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice, you should pursue. So the vision of the founders in 48 was a democratic state, a Jewish state. I think that in 48, what we considered as a Jewish state and what we have today, there is a huge gap, but this was the vision of the founders, okay? An independent justice, court of justice, independent high court that is not doing what the politicians are saying to them, that are not elected by the politician. And in all the levels, not only the high court, but all the courts of justice. This is something that today, this is what they voted yesterday in the Knesset, okay? So the fact to study today the declaration and the origin of the declaration and what was the vision of this for this country and what is the vision today, it's two different countries, two different states. We are heading towards dictatorship, where the politician, a small group of politicians are going to do the rule here. And you know, for me, I assume that it's for any Jewish person, it reminds us the darkened part of our history. I mean, it's the same sentences, the same slogans that we heard in 33 and 35 and 39. So let's see. Can you move it a little bit? I want to show no. Just I want the version of Mordechai Böhm and Moshe Sharet. Okay. Now here you have two different starting points. One was written in April 27, 48, and the second one in May 13, when the state was established in May 15. So it's 2 days before the declaration, before the establishment, okay? And we have Tzvi Berenson. So Böhm, Mordechai Böhm, escaped Germany, and he was a lawyer, he was a jurist. Tzvi Berenson was also a jurist from the Minister of Justice of this time, and Moshe Sharet was part of the Council of the People, what became later the government of Israel. And when Ben Gurion gave his dismissed from his being a prime minister, so Moshe Sharet was elected as a prime minister, and he's the one who took out the word democracy from the declaration. So look at Mordechai Böhm. Mordechai Böhm starts the declaration, the first version, because the God of Israel gave this land to our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and their descendants, to be their eternal land, Achuzat Olam. Okay? And because our people maintained their statehood in this land from the time of Joshua until the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans and the exile of most of our people, Okay. So the starting point of Mordechai Böhm is what? Is the promise of God. So what was his vision? I mean, what was his worldview? He's a religious person. For him, We came back because it is written in Genesis 12, okay? And the Lord said to Abraham, go forth from your native land to your father's house, to the land I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, which means why we're here, because this land was promised to us, not to the Palestinians, not to the Romans, not to anyone. Okay? You can see here the can you go up a little bit? No. No, up more. Yeah, okay. Moshe Sharet. No, Moshe Sharet. I want to see Moshe Sharet. What is the starting point of Moshe Sharet? Because the Jewish people were exiled by force from its land, the land of Israel, they maintained loyalty in every generation and in all the lands of the diaspora, and did not find during all of its wandering another land to replace it. Okay? So actually, what Moshe Sharet said, there was a crisis in Jewish history at a certain point of our history. We were exiled. Okay, it's another lie, because it's true. Some of the Jews were exiled, but the majority after the the destruction of the second temple, okay, were not exiled. They left. They left for political reasons. They left because of economic reasons, because the life was very expensive in the land of Israel. And they found other places around the world. So it's very interesting because these are myths, okay? This is the Jewish mythology. This is the Zionist mythology, how a nation is born. Now, in every one of these versions, there is some kind of it's true, because once you cannot live as an independent nation in your own land, so you leave. And again, I want to jump to our days, and I hear more and more, mainly the young generation, high-tech people, business people, young people, that say, if this country will change, we are leaving. We will not stay here and pay for the ultra-Orthodox and go to the army and support the economy for parasites. And I hear it more and more in Israel today. This was not what the founders of Israel meant. Okay, today the revolution that the prime minister and this government are doing is against the Declaration of Independence. They want to abolish the Declaration of Independence. And during the previous rule of Bibi Netanyahu, he wrote a law called the nation law. And the nation law, we don't need this law because everything is written in the declaration. But this is exactly the fact to say, okay, you founded the state, now we're doing something else. And I think the fact that we see hundreds of thousands of Israelis in the streets is because they are afraid that this vision of Israel will no longer exist, that they want to turn Israel into a halachic state. And I claim it for many years. When I saw the settlers and the national religious people in the West Bank, and I saw it, and people, were laughing. We are the majority. We are the majority. No, revolution are not done by the majority, but a minority with passion, with really faith. They are full of faith that they are right. Okay, they are ready to pay the price. I mean, the majority are not willing to pay the price. Okay, now they're coming. It's very nice to demonstrate it, but they are activists. The people that are in the West Bank are activists. They want to see a kingdom of David here. They want to see a Bet HaMikdash, a temple on the Temple Mount. And this can bring a catastrophe, while the Declaration of Independence, the Ben Gurion, what he wanted to do is to bring back the Jewish people to normality. He wanted to bring again the Jewish people in the historic arena to be part of the international community. And that's why this paragraph, okay, it will be based on freedom, justice, and peace. It will ensure complete equality, because this is a democratic state. And what is going now in Israel, and it's amazing, because these few weeks, I don't know how many times people were asking me to teach what is the declaration in the light of what is going now in Israel. Can you move it a little bit up, because I want to show to other people more. Yeah, more. Yeah, okay, yeah. Again, a little bit up. Yeah, okay. So here we have another one. Hannah Senesh was murdered during the Holocaust in Hungary, but she writes it in 1914, and she said, "I didn't come here for reasons of tourism, nor for purposes of exploration, nor for reasons of economy. I, like every other Zionist, am searching for a home, a country. I will try to explain what is in Eretz Israel that offered this," which means Hannah Senesh, what she's saying, I'm not going to read the entire the entire paragraph. You will get this text. But what Hannah Senesh is saying, that there is a Jewish conscience, a collective conscience, and this collective conscience is based in the land of Israel. And without the land of Israel, she cannot live in another country. But this is her point of view. I believe that any person can live wherever he, she, it wants. But Hannah Senesh, she's making a choice, and the choice is to join the nation. There is a triangle, okay? Nation, culture, religion. Okay, these are the three pillars of Judaism. We are as a nation, we are as a religion, and as a culture. And each one can choose. I want to be a cultural Jew. I want to be a religious Jew. I want to be a nationalistic Jew. But I can be also in the middle of all the three points of the triangle. Hannah Senesh is making a choice to come because of history, of the past. Okay? Shai Agnon, can you lift it a little bit more? Yeah. Okay. Shai Agnon, who was a religious person, as you know, is the nominee of Nobel Prize in literature, well-known writer. Even though he is a religious person, his starting point is historic. As a result of the historic catastrophe in which Titus of Rome destroyed Jerusalem and Israel, was exiled from its land, I was born in one of the cities of the exile. But always I regarded myself as one who was born in Jerusalem, which means the connection of the Jews to this land is not necessarily practical. Jews lived for hundreds, 2,000 years in the diaspora, but with their mind towards Jerusalem, and specifically, if you are a religious person and you are praying and you are turning to what? To Jerusalem. When in Sukkot, you say the prayer for the rain. It's not the rain in England. It's not the rain in Poland or in Germany. Jews were praying for the rain in Eretz Israel. And this is something which is very interesting in the Masechet, in the Declaration of Independence, is that you hear many voices, but most of the voices are claiming this is our natural right. Do people have a natural right? I don't know. But this is what the declaration in 48, this is what they said. We are going to bring back the Jewish people to become independent with rights, but we have to be careful to give the same rights to people that are not Jewish. Why? Because we know exactly what it is to live in countries where we were deprived from our rights. So I want to make a test, and I'm waiting for a response from the Israeli channel, the first channel, the public channel. And I want to go with a crew of television into the Knesset and try to ask the people, the member of the Knesset, to sign the declaration. My guess is that maybe 40 out of 100, maybe 50 out of 120 will sign the declaration. So we're in a total different era where we hear much more strongly the two positions, two worldviews. One view is the view of the declaration: freedom, justice, equality, peace. Which means we are a nation among the nations. And this is the Declaration of Independence. And the other voice, the other worldview that we are hearing today and that are now creating laws in the Knesset are: we are a nation, a solitaire. We don't care. We don't take into consideration any countries in this world. We are living among ourselves, like we're just 2 weeks from Purim, okay? And this is exactly what Haman said to King Ahasuerus, Cyrus, okay? He said, there is a people that is scattered among all other people, and they are staying by themselves. They don't want to mix. They don't want to take into consideration others. Am levadad ishkon. This is the worldview. Okay, and I think that today these two worldviews are in clash, and that's why the declaration is very important. And I think that today the people that you see on the streets, whether it is every Saturday evening in front of the president of Israel in Tel Aviv, in all over Israel, or on Mondays around the Knesset, because these people understand that if the declaration will no longer be the founding document, it's like, for me, it's like a canon. The Bible is a canon. Okay, you cannot add, you cannot take any words out of the Bible. Okay, for me, the declaration is a canon. Okay, and we have everything in this declaration: a Jewish state, the fact that we deserve to live here. We have Jewish values, we have democratic values, we have everything in this declaration. Okay, I'm really afraid that if today the declaration will no longer be these founding documents, it will no longer be Israel. It will be another state, another culture. I mean, and so this is why it is so challenging. And this, I think, the mobilization of the crowd is because they understand that are fighting for this vision of Israel: freedom, justice, and peace. And all the slogans in the demonstrations are, we want to remain a democracy. It was never an amazing democracy, Israel. Yes, we have an occupation. We have other communities in Israel that don't receive their, but at least you can demonstrate, you have free speech. It's a formalistic, you have elections, too many, in my opinion, too many elections, but you have elections so Israel is some kind of a democracy. Okay, each country is some kind of a democracy. There is no pure democracy. We are not in Athens in ancient times. So I think I will stop here, and if you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
That's brilliant, Nava. Thank you so much. I know that there are questions. I know I have many too, but we've already had some coming in through the chat. So I'd like to start by bringing in Angela Gluck on screen, because actually she put 2 questions in the chat, both of which I thought were very interesting. Angela. Oh, you need to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Aviva, but mainly thank you, Rabbi Nava. And before I ask my question, I just want to say I feel very honored to be in the same, I could say, the same room as you. For some years, I have organized something a bit like a Seder Shel Pesach for refugees here in London. It's called A Taste of Refuge. So it's a mixture of Jews who aren't really refugees and real refugees. And we always end with the prayer that you wrote before I knew you, before I'd seen you, the prayer that you wrote for asylum seekers. And some of the, that language is really very, very, evocative. Cast out from the world the racism and the violence that is directed upon them, and pour out your might that they may know. It's just very, very wonderful language and sentiment. So thank you, first of all, for that. But one of my questions is really about this phrase, Eretz Yisrael, because I think the phrase so that's my first question, is the question is, what do you mean? What do we mean by Eretz Yisrael? So with Medinat Yisrael, we know what we mean by the borders. I mean, they have moved.
We don't know.
But they've moved, but we kind of know what we mean by the borders or whatever. But with the land of Israel, there were so many borders. It was so, it was like an amoeba. It was so elastic, and sometimes it's not even really a border. It's like just a dream of something. And so I'm wondering if you have a sense of what is meant by the land of Israel, Eretz Israel, in the declaration, and maybe different people also are using that phrase in a different way. They mean different things by it. That's question number one. My second question is just a very small technical one. I just want you to to settle an argument for me. There is this phrase "Tzur Yisrael," which comes at the end of the declaration.
Yeah.
And the kind of the legend around it, the Agadah that is associated with it, the Rock of Israel, was inserted because the religious said, well, we've got to thank God for this, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. And the Chilionim said, no, we're not standing. Where was God when we were in? It's nothing to do with God. And so the legend is, or the legend we have in the Galut is that there was some kind of compromise phrase. Tzur Yisrael meant to the religious, of course, that's God of Israel. Yes, of course. And, the seculars could say, well, the Tzur Yisrael is simply, the Jewish strength, that which is eternal about us, that which is strong. And they could be quite metaphorical about it. And so we are told, they agreed on that phrase that everybody could then, sign.
I'm just going to bring it up online so that everybody...
Oh, thank you. That was a great idea. There it is, placing our trust in, yes. Thank you, that's a good idea. Thank you, Aviva.
I think, okay, first...
I have two questions, yeah. I don't mind which ones first.
Yes, it was a compromise. It's not a legend. It was a compromise. There were a lot of discussions. Again, not the same day of the declaration, but, and even after, after the declaration, after the state of Israel was established, Ben-Gurion went to see the Chazon Ish, the leader of Orthodox. And this is where he said, oh, we are the loaded truck and you are the empty truck. And the loaded truck, the empty truck should let priority to the loaded truck, which means the secular, they founded the state, and this is exactly what they're saying now. Okay, this is exactly okay. Yes, you were the elite. You fought in the wars, okay? But now it's our turn. Now we are going to turn it into a halachic. So yes, Tzur Israel was definitely a compromise. And again, it's interesting because you can give any interpretation that you want. Tzur Israel, it's the Palmach. Tzur Israel are the IDF, the soldier. But no, Ben-Gurion, Ben-Gurion, he provoked the amnesia of the young generation of Israel. He said, from the Tanakh to the Palmach, there was nothing. Which means he wanted to bring back the ideology of the Bible. We are the new Jews that are coming back to the land of Israel. And now it will take me to your second. Okay, you have different explanation. What is Eretz Israel? Okay, first we have in the Bible. Okay, we have in the Bible what is Nahar Gadol ad Nahar Prat, from the Nile to. This is the dream, and this is exactly when I speak with my Palestinian colleagues, and they said this is all ours. I said, listen, each one of us, we are dreamers, and each one of us want to be very strong and big. Okay, no, Eretz Israel is where the Jews used to live. It was never Nahar Gadol ad Nahar Prat. On the contrary, according to the halacha, the Gaza Strip is not part of Israel. Okay, it's a Philistine. Philistine territory. Okay, and that's why when Ariel Sharon decided to disengage from Gaza Strip, okay, no rabbi could say it's according to the halacha, this is Eretz Israel, because we know halachically it's not Eretz Israel. So for me, Eretz Israel is where the Jews used to live. You have the dream and you have the praxis. So when I said the Eretz Israel, according to Ben Gurion or to the founders of Israel, Eretz Israel was the place where the Jews used to live until the second temple. So for him, this was Eretz Israel, but he understood also that he must do a compromise with the international community, and that's why you can't find one kibbutz that was in Judea and Samaria, except Gush Etzion, that was always part of, it was really on the border, okay? So for him, one kibbutz was not there. Why? Because the majority of the Arab population was in Judea and Samaria.
Mm-hmm.
So Eretz Israel, yeah, it's an amorphic, I mean, it's a concept on one hand. On the other hand, it's a real place. It's a real place. I read the Bible. I mean, Genesis, Bereshit, Perek Aleph, we read it, okay? And not only Perek Aleph, chapter 12 and 13, where you have, and you don't have only the promise to Abraham. You have three promises: Abraham, Isaac, and I mean, it's so.
Yeah.
But this is the mythology, how a nation is born. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have the myth and you have the reality. And for me, the reality is that we must do a compromise. And that's why I'm against the whole settlement. It doesn't mean that I don't feel that this is where my ancestors used to live. But it's not the time. We're not allowed to go there because there is another people. And because what is more important is not the land, but human life and the dignity of human life. And human life is sacred and not the land. The land is not sacred.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. So we're having a few questions coming in, Nava, and they're all about the same part of the declaration. So I thought, since I do have the text, I'm going to bring that back up on screen. And then I know Emma's got one question, and then there are other questions from the audience that are all based on, I'm sure you know, the paragraph. So the state of Israel will be based on freedom, justice, and peace. Fine, as envisaged by the prophets of Israel. I mean, you talked about this at length in your talk. It will ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex. It will guarantee freedom of religion, conscience, language. Okay. So all the questions we've got coming in are somehow addressing really that sentence. So I'm just bringing it in to share everyone else. Then I'm going to start off with Emma asking her question, and then we'll bring everyone else up to ask that, or I might ask a couple of people who asked if I would ask for them. So Emma.
You're on mute. Unmute. Yeah. Unmute.
I have my own spotlight at the same time. So yeah, I think I'm guessing, most people's questions, because the obvious one is about non-Jewish inhabitants of Israel and do they have equal rights? But I'm also interested in the fact that, non-Orthodox inhabitants don't necessarily have the same rights, especially in terms of marriage, conversion, things that are recognized, not recognized, how Shabbat kind of dominates. It's a very Orthodox way of doing Shabbat that dominates. And yeah, I'm interested whether the framers of the Constitution had any kind of beliefs in Jewish pluralism, and was there any way of safeguarding that within, like when they say a state for the Jewish people, did they envision the kind of plurality of ways of being Jewish?
It's a very, very interesting question. You have to understand that in 48, and I would say until the last 2 decades, the Reform and conservative movement were practically not existing in Israel. I mean, most of the rabbis, the Reform rabbis, were American rabbis. It doesn't mean that we didn't see any congregation, but it was really very small. And during the last decades, a lot of Israeli rabbis were ordained, and rabbis from all kinds of Israel. Okay, imagine I just on Monday I'm organizing a study day for the women rabbinic networking, and we have 70 women, most of them Israelis, the majority are Israelis. I think that today the number of Reform rabbis in Israel is between 200, 250. Okay. The conservative movement is smaller, okay, but until the 2 last decades, the Judaism in Israel, where the majority was secular and the minority was Orthodox. That's why Ben Gurion, in the early 50s of the previous century, agreed to dismiss them from the army, because he said all the big congregations were destroyed during the Holocaust. We have here what he called the She'erit HaPleta, the remnants, okay? So it was 400, only 400 Yeshiva Bucher, that's it. Now we are talking about more than 30,000. Okay, so I think that in the early years of the state of Israel, it doesn't mean American rabbis or British rabbis were not involved in the creation of the state. Hillel Silver and all kinds of rabbis, Davidovich, a conservative rabbi, who was the mentor of Tzvi Berenzon, one of the writers of the Declaration. He was a conservative rabbi from the state. There were rabbis, but they were rabbis that came from outside. They were not Sabra. They were speaking with an accent, okay, a foreign accent, okay. They were not Sabra, so the accent is not only the accent; it's also the meta language. It reflects the culture, okay. So these rabbis were coming from a different background. So so I don't think. Yes, I think that Ben Gurion meant that in the state of Israel there will be it will be a pluralistic, but not as we understand it today, okay? Because this was not okay. You know, in 1970, Rabbi Schindler to Israel he wanted to have a big conference of the Reform movement. And he came to the Minister of Interior from the Labour Party, and to the minister of religion. At this time, we still had a minister of religion. He said, I want to come here, but I don't want a mechitza. I don't want a separation. And they said to him, two ministers said to him, if you bring here 1 million Reform Jews, we will take out the mechitza. But right now, that are praying in the Kotel are Orthodox. So pluralism, it's really a new phenomenon as we understand it today. Yes, today they were fighting in the Kotel in Jerusalem with the women of the wall. Okay, tomorrow we have another fight in the egalitarian part of the Kotel, what was meant to be the egalitarian part. So, but today we have more than 100 congregations, Reform congregations in Israel. I mean, it's a dream that came true. Okay, so no, I don't think that Ben-Gurion and the writers, yes, they took into consideration the leadership in America, because this was the big, they needed the United States behind, and they knew that the Jewish community was very powerful in America. But no, he didn't want to please the Jews of America, mainly. He wanted to please the UN. He wanted to please the international community, because they give him the strength and the approval to create the state. And you know, this is what I say to my students when I'm doing a lot of seminars to pre-military academies. I'm working a lot with pre-military academies for many reasons. First of all, this is the next generation of leaders of Israel. Second, because in a few months there will be in the West Bank dealing with the Palestinian civilians, and it's very important to brainwash them with human rights. So when I take them to the where all the national institutions were before the creation, the Jewish Agency, the JNF, which I hate today because they're doing terrible things, but at this time it was necessary. The Keren HaYesod, the World Jewish Congress, and the Histadrut HaTzionit, and okay. And I said, listen, why the Abu Mazen or why Arafat before him didn't proclaim the creation of the Palestinian state? Why? Because he didn't have the approval of the international community. And this was the Jewish leadership was very clever to build all the democratic institutions and all the state institutions before the creation of the state of Israel. And this is something that didn't happen among the Palestinian population. Okay, you should see this theory, the mandate. Okay, it's the British mandate. It's amazing. It's really amazing because it puts into proportion, and it explains why Great Britain was behaving like she did. Okay, it's really very interesting because Great Britain was pro-Jewish homeland for the Jews, and they turned only during the Second World War, when the Second World War started, because of the oil pipes that came from Iraq to Haifa. Okay, and they were afraid that the Arab countries will, and there were some sabotage. There were, okay. It's really amazing. I learned a lot, and believe me, I read so many researches and books and on this period. But yes, we were clever enough to mobilize the international and to have the structure, the structure to build a state.
Thank you, Emma. And thank you, Nava, because actually on that topic, there is a question from the audience, and I think maybe it's the right question to finish on, actually, because we don't want to keep you too long. I know you've got to be back on the barricades very soon, well, and you need a good night's sleep. But Adrian, she asked me if I would ask it on her behalf, but she's watching from home. And she said, okay, so what can we as diaspora Jews do? And how much involvement should we and could we have in what's currently happening?
This is a question that is raised after every session with, and even Americans, Germans, French. I mean, I think you have a very important role to play, very important role. I don't think, even if, you know, the right wing, the extreme right wing think we don't need the Jews of the diaspora, it's not true. So first of all, you need to shout, to scream, we want to hear you. We need your support. We need your support outside of Israel. We need you as Jews that are support Israel. We need we need your voice. We need to hear your voice, okay? And when you do it because you love Israel, not because you want to bash Israel, not because you want to go against Israel, but do it out of love, okay? But be very critical. Don't criticize Israel in itself, but the policy of the government. I'm not against Israel. I'm an Israeli citizen. I love this country. There are so many amazing things in this country, okay? It's the country of contradictions, like any other country, okay? It's not better in England or in France or in the United States, okay? Each country but we need to hear you, okay? Write letters to the Prime Minister, write letters to members of the Knesset, to the government, to the ministers, demonstrate. And demonstrate again because you love Israel, not because you want to destroy Israel, okay? This is one thing. Second thing that is very important, and this is something that I say to whoever wants to hear me, and people don't like it. I mean, the government don't like it, but I say it anyway. When you donate money, donate to a specific project that you believe in. Don't give just like this money to Israel. Because when you give through the Jewish agency and the money goes to the Department of Settlements, so you can be sure that most of your money is going to build settlements. So your reform congregation, give to the reform movement. Give to education. Give to a congregation. Give to a project. I don't know. I mean,
well, on that note, I would say, so you are from Rabbis for Human Rights. Should anyone wish to donate to support human rights, can we donate to Rabbis for Human Rights?
Yeah, but we are not part. We're not part of the reform movement.
No, that's fine. So we'll put the link to Rabbis for Human Rights in the chat. The other thing I just want to say to everyone is, from Jewish Renaissance, so I'm director of Jewish Renaissance magazine, we actually have a partnership. One of our advertisers and supporters is the New Israel Fund. So again,
we don't We don't get a lot of money from the NIF.
Okay, no.
We don't get enough of money. We, some drops. No, but again, give to a specific program.
Right.
Okay? For example, I'll give you an example. If you're talking about Rabbis for Human Rights, for example, in the territories, we have two very big campaigns twice a year: the olive harvest and planting of trees, olive trees. Okay, so you can decide, and we have friends of, I think it's Alexandra Wright.
Yes.
Of friends of Rabbis for Human Rights in UK. And you can decide that you want to give to the olive harvest, or you want to give to you want to buy 100 olive trees to plant in the West Bank, in the Palestinian villages, or you want to give to social justice. Okay, we're talking about justice. Okay, this is also, that in Israel we have more than a million people living under the line of poverty, with insecure nutrition. So we have a center of rights in Hadera that now we might change into the Negev, because the big problem are the Bedouin in the Negev, in the unrecognized villages in the Negev. So, for example, to run this this center, okay, we need people. We have a Palestinian lawyer. We need people to understand where is the violation of rights of people. So there are many projects that you can donate specifically to a specific project, and but don't stop giving through the Jewish agency. It's because you don't know where the money goes.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us both emotional and practical advice. And just to say to everyone in the audience and those who are watching at home later, that Rabbi Nava will be in London in the summer. So she's going in June. So she's going to be speaking actually to the Methodists, but we're hoping that we'll organise an event that she does for us as well. So you might have an opportunity to meet in June, and we're very grateful to you meanwhile for coming and speaking to us this evening. I know a lot of us will be thinking about Israel in the coming days. We've all been watching the news nervously, over the past weeks, but especially today as news has been filtering through. So yeah, we wish you strength and courage, and we're very grateful to you for sharing and making us part of your community. And to everyone else, before I ask you to unmute yourselves and thank Nava in the customary way, I just want to mention, in terms of Jewish Renaissance and Lyons Learning events, this was the end of the Yishuv series. We will be doing something in May around Yom HaAtzmaut, looking at the 75 years of the state. So details of that will come with a new magazine publication. But in the meantime, next Wednesday, although Yishuv is finished, I will be chairing a Jewish Book Week event with Barbara Mann from JTS, the Jewish Theological Seminary in America, on the book, the object of the book in Jewish tradition and Jewish literature. And then the following week, the following Wednesday, is another Jewish Renaissance and Lyons Learning event, where for International Women's Day, we're looking at the Jewish women of Iran. There are about 10,000 Jews still in Iran, and we've been working on the ground with some of the Jewish women protesting there. So we're going to hear a little bit about the history of Jews in Iran and a little bit about the contemporary situation. So we do hope you'll come along to both those events, and look forward to seeing you there. And meanwhile, if you'd like to unmute, you can go to Gallery View, and there's a chance to more informally thank Nava and say anything if you do want to say anything to her.